There's a reason we're throwing the party of a lifetime next year. As the curtains close on this chapter of BronyCon, we're also choosing to end the event next year.
When those words were spoken, it was as if 1,000 bronies suddenly cried out in terror and disbelief. BronyCon has been a staple of the community since its early days, and the announcement of its imminent end has left many fans questioning the future of the very fandom itself. In today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the convention, what it has meant to so many people, and how we as a fandom can grow from here. I'm Forward Progress, and welcome to Keeping Friendship Magic. The first BronyCon took place in June of 2011 in New York City. Friendship is Magic had only been on the air for 8 months at that point, but convention founder Purple Tinker believed that this growing community deserved a place of its own on the convention circuit. 100 attendees visited that first event, but just 1 year later that number grew to over 4,000 excited bronies for the summer 2012 event. Camera crews were on hand as John Delancey roamed the grounds talking with attendees. Known as Discord to MLP fans and Q to Star Trek fans, his crossover appeal helped propel the documentary film Bronies, the extremely unexpected adult fans of My Little Pony. The film gave those who had never heard of BronyCon or even imagined such a convention existing a peek inside at this amazing gathering of like-minded fans who came together in the name of friendship, love, and tolerance. I myself was one such person. After seeing the documentary, I was awestruck at what the Brony community was doing. There were artists and musicians producing amazing works, charity projects that raised thousands of dollars for great causes, and people finding a home amongst friends. Shortly thereafter, I kicked down the door of the metaphorical Brony closet and pronounced to the world that I was proud to call myself a fan of Technicolor horses. I took what little money I had and bought a ticket to BronyCon 2014. The convention had now moved to Baltimore and attendance was continuing to grow. I was met with such warmth by people I never met before, and I was welcomed as not only a member of the community, but also as a friend. So many others have shared in such an experience, and BronyCon grew to its peak of over 10,000 attendees in 2015. Sadly, the last few years has seen a steady decrease in attendance, however, with 2018's event posting an attendance of approximately 5,400. Now, not a small number by any stretch of the imagination, but a whopping 45% decrease in attendance in just 3 years. That dwindling attendance certainly has played a role in the decision to end the convention, but lest we forget that BronyCon, along with all fellow My Little Pony conventions, are fan-run and operated. Conventions are staffed by unpaid volunteers who put in countless hours of blood, sweat, and tears, along with a giant mountain of stress, just to provide a weekend of enjoyment for fans just like themselves. Conventions are not really a profitable venture. Most cons view it as a large success if they manage to just break even with expenses. It takes a very strong-willed person to staff, let alone chair, a Brony convention. And we're all indebted to the amazing people who have given so much to us over the years. All this being said, it's completely understandable that a convention the size of BronyCon would want to be able to go out on its own terms, with a giant celebration of what made it such a success in the first place. We cannot deny the influence that BronyCon has had, not only upon the Brony community, but also on other fandoms and overall social perceptions of our community and others. Heck, it was influential enough to inspire an episode of the series set at a convention, complete with slight nods to our very own convention scene. BronyCon's influence on so many people is why it hits us all so hard to hear that it will be ending. To many, it's not simply the end of an event, but the death of something very close to us that we hold in our hearts. This actually reminds me of a time we dealt with such an enormous loss on the show.
I really miss this place, Spike. We had so many wonderful memories here.
We did, didn't we?
Oh, Spike, I'm so sorry. Of course losing the Golden Oak Library was hard for you, too.
When the Golden Oak Library was destroyed, it was so much more than just seeing a building being brought down. It was the loss of a place that Twilight Sparkle called home for so long. A place where we as fans saw so many great moments play out over the seasons. Despite having a bright and shiny new castle, Twilight had trouble adjusting to her new home as she was still grieving the loss of her old one. Much like many of us are grieving the impending loss of a place we could call home for at least one weekend a year. When we think of grief, we often associate it with the death of a loved one, but grief also hits us in many different situations. We grieve when a beloved TV show airs its final episode, or when our car battery dies, or when we learn our bank account has been overdrawn. Anytime we are faced with the stress of losing something, a process of grieving is soon to follow. Scientific interest in studying how we grieve has increased greatly in recent years, producing several theories and models on the matter. The most commonly known of these is the Kübler-Ross model. You may be familiar with it as we saw its stages played out in the episode Tanks for the Memories.
But don't worry, he'll reappear when the spring sun warms the ground back up.
Come on! Tortoises don't hibernate! Some pony put that picture in there as a joke.
We know how upset you are about Tank, but you shouldn't take your anger out on your friends.
Who said anything about anger? I didn't say anything about anger! I'm not upset, and I am not angry! Do I look angry?
Think, Rainbow Dash, think! Tank's only hibernating because it's cold, right?
Well, I'd rather have him awake in the heat than asleep in the cold.
I'll just have to stop winter! Rainbow Dash, your winter is going to be petless. Whatever did you do that for? Because she'll never get past this until she lets it all out.
I'm glad you're feeling a little better, Rainbow Dash.
Yeah, me too.
So, you really want to do this hibernating thing, huh? Goodbye, Tank. See you later, little fella.
Goodbye, Tank. We'll miss you.
In the same way Rainbow Dash had to learn to cope with losing Tank for the winter, we as Bronies have to learn to cope with losing BronyCon. An important thing to note, the stages of grief are not necessarily universal, and they can be experienced out of order or even simultaneously. One can be angry while they're in denial, or be depressed while they're trying to bargain. Bottom line is, these stages are all coping mechanisms that we tend to experience as a way to adjust to loss. Everybody's going to experience loss in their own unique way, but the important thing is that we do in fact deal with it, and eventually reach acceptance of the loss that is coming. Now, that is not to say that acceptance of the end of BronyCon means acceptance of the end of the fandom. Far from it, in fact. J. William Worden's research into grief work lists 4 tasks of mourning, with acceptance actually being the very first step in grief resolution. These 4 tasks can be represented by the acronym TEAR. After accepting the reality of our loss, we need to experience the pain of the loss. Many of us are in the midst of that task right now, as our emotions are pouring out over losing something that has played such a huge role in our lives. The next task is a crucial one I believe we all need to embrace, and that is to adjust to the new environment. We may be facing a future without BronyCon, but we are by no means facing a future without Brony conventions. A multitude of amazing events still take place yearly and are going incredibly strong. These conventions still focus on the community's values of friendship and bring some of the amazing talent behind the show for us to interact with. I can speak directly to TruckCon and Windy City PonyCon, which I have attended both, as being both amazing conventions with dedicated staff that are committed to giving this fandom a place to call home for years and years to come. But I know there are so many other great conventions that I've yet to visit. The West Coast has shows like Everfree Northwest and BabsCon with great reputations. Internationally, we have GalaCon, Project C PonyCon is still going strong, and there's so many others out there. There's quite the open world left for Bronies after the end of BronyCon, And there are so many ways that we can adjust to this new environment and reach our fourth task of reinvesting in this new world. Now let's take a look back at how Twilight's friends helped her to adjust and reinvest in her new home.
What really makes home feel like home isn't what it looks like. It's the memories you make when you're there.
So, we made something that celebrates the memories we've made with you since you moved to Ponyville. The ornaments on the chandelier are reminders of all the fun we've had together. That one shows your party at the Golden Oak Library welcoming you to Ponyville. The time we shared donuts after the Grand Galloping Gala. We were hoping that being able to look at your beautiful old memories would inspire you to make new ones.
And the best part of it is, it's made from the roots of the Golden Oak Library, so you'll never forget where you came from.
It's exactly what the castle needed. And I am ready to make new memories here.
Not only is the chandelier made from the roots of Twilight's old home, but it also holds memories of all of her adventures with her friends. Twilight was able to adjust to a world without the Golden Oak Library thanks to this. She's now able to reinvest in the reality of her new home, because a small part of what she once had will always be there. When BronyCon ends, it will never truly be dead. It will live on in the memories and connections of the thousands of bronies who experienced it. We can take all those great memories and experiences from all the BronyCons past and use them to reinvest in our other fantastic pony conventions, as well as our local meetups and our own personal lives. Always celebrate in what you have been given from that which you have lost. Nobody and no thing can ever truly be lost as long as it lives on in the hearts and actions of those that it has touched. And that is what I call keeping friendship magic. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of Keeping Friendship Magic. I have so much planned for the series that I can't wait to share on the whiteboard. To be the first in the know of upcoming videos, hit that friendly little subscribe button down below. If you want to help see this project grow, you can always become a patron at patreon.com/KFM, and be sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, remember to always keep friendship magic in the comments and in life.